Welcome back. Now, Nigeria's north central and northwest regions are contending with a multi-layered crisis rooted in a long-standing tension now between ethnic and religious groups and attacks, of course, by criminal groups and armed bandits. And this is despite the best efforts by the country's military now to bring lasting peace to the two regions. Now, many suggestions have been put forward by different groups and individuals to end the crisis, but then the problems still persist. Now, the former governor of Zamfara State, Sani Yerima, has asked President Bola Tinubu to negotiate with terror gangs operating in his state and other parts of the northwest of the country as a means to ending the insecurity challenges in those areas. According to him, the move would be similar to what the administration of former President Umar Yar'Adua did with militants in the Niger Delta region, which gave birth to the Amnesty program. Now, in 2009, to be specific, President Yar'Adua granted amnesty to militants in the oil-producing Niger Delta region to tackle the problems of oil theft, kidnapping of oil workers, and outright attack on oil installations. The amnesty involved training of some of the ex-militants in various oil-related professions and offering them jobs as well as monthly payments to some former militants. Yerima argued that using military force would not resolve the problem and would continue to lead to collateral damages. Some security experts have though said, while it is crucial to explore all possible solutions to address the security crisis in the country, the idea of negotiating with violent criminals should be approached with extreme caution. Joining me now to discuss this further is Dennis Amakari, a security consultant and a former director in Nigeria's department, that's Nigeria's Secret Police, now the Department of State Services. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on the program. What do you make of this suggestion by Sani Yerima? It's actually not something new anyway, but this time coming from a former governor of Zamfara State and who is, whether we like it or not, very popular in that state and has a huge following.
Thank you very much, DEJI, for this particular question. It's something that we've been discussing. Like you said, it's not a new thing. But you see, we have to. I'm happy that it is coming from Yerima, the former Zamfara governor. And of course, I'm still waiting to also hear from Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State. Because when you look at the. Yes, when you look at the root causes of this particular situation. You know, most of these bandits, we call them bandits now. Later, we went to court to call them terrorists. And the court actually declared them to be terrorists, you know. They were bandits before because they were just, who are bandits? Bandits are people who just, a gang of thieves, you know, a gang of thieves that go around harassing people, stealing people, and stealing things from people. But these particular ones were brought from outside Nigeria, you know, and nobody wants to talk about it. Now, after they've outlived their usefulness or why they were brought in, we couldn't convince them to go back. So if you cannot convince them to go back, the best way is to dialogue with them. Now, when you dialogue with them in the first instance, they refused because Rufai himself was trying to dialogue with them. He was talking with them. In fact, he was paying them. He said it himself. He was paying them. So, not to be, you know, attacking people. But I think he was tired of paying. And then, of course, they went out of their enclave to go out and start attacking people. So now, when they start attacking people, they discover that in fact they can make more money than going back to the desert where they come from. You know, and they find out that right there in Kaduna, a lot of things are going on. The illegal mining that is going on, you know, in Zamfara, all those things are attractions that will make them not to go anywhere again.
Now, you did talk about El Rufai, and I suppose one of the reasons why you said it will be important to hear what El Rufai has to say about this is because El Rufai is on record too to have said there's no need negotiating with these bandits, that they just would not accept, that the only language they understand is the use of force. But then, so far, that force has not brought lasting peace to the region.
He has negotiated with them before he started saying that. He has negotiated with them. He was giving them monthly stipends, and it was not working again. So he decided to now change his song that, okay, let's go and carpet bomb them. That's his exact words. Like, let's go and carpet bomb them. But we cannot do that. In military tactics, you don't go and carpet bomb an area where there are also Nigerian citizens, innocent Nigerian citizens who are living there. So their collateral damage is going to be terrible, But that is a Rufai for you, So a Rufai should come out. He can solve this problem, And of course.
Yeah. So let's, in Zamfara State to be specific, where Sani Yerima comes from, we know that former governors of that state, particularly Matawale, actually started by dialoguing and dialoguing with these bandits. He gave you must be aware of that. At some point, there were stories out there that he gave some of them houses, gave them cars, and all of that. So he negotiated with them, but then after a while, these bad people went haywire. I mean, they continued their attack. The attack did not stop. And so the governor was forced to withdraw from the negotiation. And he too came to the conclusion that force was the only way to deal with this. I'm just wondering, what would be different from what Yerima is proposing?
Yes, well, you see, it's like trial and error, trying to find out the best possible answer, whereby we try this, it doesn't work, we try another one and see whether it's going to work again, But you see, like I said, they have been negotiating with these people. And then, of course, it didn't work because the people have come to see that there's a lot of money involved, So I think what the military could do right now, I still believe in negotiation. But the best is carrot and stick approach, whereby they have to be pounded. They have to be pounded up to the level of where they want to surrender, and then we can negotiate. But right now, you can see that negotiation didn't work. The military kinetic way didn't work. And of course, some of them have, and they are known. We know where they are because we know some of them, like they were buying cars for them. They were having pictures with them, And one thing, Yerima cannot be comparing these guys to the militants in the Niger Delta.
So what's the difference?
Because there is a marked difference between them. The ones in Niger Delta are not people that will just go out and start just killing people. You go into a village and then you start killing everybody. The one in Niger Delta, we are not doing that. The ones in Niger Delta have a problem with the Nigerian government, and they were fighting the Nigerian government. These ones have a problem with the Nigerian government, but they left the Nigerian government and went into the villages and were killing villagers. In fact, they were even instituting a government of their own because they operate in their governed spaces, and in those spaces, there's nobody, so they even impose tax. If you're a farmer, you want to go to your farm, then you have to pay, So those are two marked differences. We have to distinguish between the ones that are operating that they call bandits, who are now terrorists, with the ones that are in Niger Delta, who are fighting for emancipation of their environment, and then of course fighting for the resources that are coming out from their place. And of course, the government recognized that. That's why former President Yaradua went ahead and negotiated with them. So you cannot compare them with bandits who have been raping and killing, and we saw their videos. You know, there has never been a video like that between Niger Delta militants and these bandits.
So obviously Yerima got it wrong when he talked about, when he compared the situation in the north of the country, especially the northwest and north central now, to that of the Niger Delta. Obviously, the same approach cannot be adopted. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. You cannot adopt the same approach because these are two kettle of fishes, different kettle of fishes, and the one in the northwest there has its own solution, which if we pursue, I think we can have some answers.
Mr. Dennis Amakari, security consultant and former director in the Department of State Services, thank you very much for your time and thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much, sir. All right, we'll take a short break now and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Stay with us. Opinions are free. Facts are sacred. But truth is universal. How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues. Welcome back. Let's continue that discussion on the call by the former governor of Zamfara State asking the president to dialogue with bandits, and now being joined on the program by Temitope Olodo, who is a preventive terrorism consultant. He joins us from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Olodo, for joining us on the program. First off, what do you make of this call, even though it's not new, but coming from the former governor of Zamfara State? I mean, this must, it has to be taken seriously, don't you think so?
I don't understand where the former governor is coming from. I think it's important to put this in context. Roughly from 2014, I know the Northwest and that part of the country have been suffering from a lot of bandits. But these bandits of 2014, 2016 are not the bandits that of 2021 and 2022. These are bandits that have moved away from just, attacking local, to try to make a name for themselves by getting into bed or, having a relationship with Boko Haram and even Israel. So my particular understanding is that we're no longer dealing with bandits, but we're dealing with what I would refer to as hybrid bandits. Bandits which now have a bit of terrorist narrative in what they do. And they have become more of a national. So it's going to be a bit difficult. I understand exactly where the governor is coming from, trying to compare the bandits, with the Niger Delta. If it was the bandits of 2014 and the bandits of 2016, then I will have no problem with agreeing with him that some of the narrative and the counter narrative that need to be deployed in order to ensure that this violence extremism that we're experiencing in that part of the country is dealt with, is to negotiate with them. But the problem we have is that negotiation have already been adopted at a state level, and we've seen that it has failed. It has failed because some of the elements within the system refuse, or within that structure, refuse to comply with the agreement and even with all the attractive whatever you call it, negotiations that were given to them, or what were given to them, they decide to breach that contract, if you want to call it a contract, and return back
would
to a life of crime.
Would it be a bad idea to do it again, to at least try it again? Did you get my question?
The problem we have with this particular bandit is that they now have religious inclination in what they are doing. And that is why it's going to be a bit difficult to negotiate with them. I will not rule out negotiation. Some of them we have to negotiate with them, but some of them, when it comes to religious terrorists, it's always very, very difficult to get them to switch compared to nationalists. Because once you give nationalists, terrorists what they want, which is a bit of territory, like the Biafrans and the others, it's very easy to be able to turn them around. But when you are dealing with religious terrorists, it's always very difficult.
Do you think this bandits or terrorists, if you like, can be classified as religious terrorists, if you like, or that their kind of terrorism is about religion? Because you look at what they do. I mean, they just attack everyone, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their victims' religion, and they are not even preaching against any religion anyway. They're not trying to convert anybody. These are plainly criminals who just attack and kidnap, and basically you get the impression they do this for money.
There is no doubt that an element of the bandits do this for money. But there is a bit of the element of this group that also do it as a nationalist group, because they've actually come out to say that their people, the Fulani extraction of those bandits, have come out to say that their people have been suffering, their land have been taken, their cows have been taken, and they have come in to try to fight for their right. We know that as a result of that narrative, that's the reason why places like Plateau is coming under a lot of attack. Plateau, Benue are coming under a lot of attack, and we know there are foreign elements with it. So the problem with this approach, which there's nothing wrong with it, is that who are you negotiating with? Are you negotiating with the normal bandits that are just interested in money? If that is the case, I think that those kind of groups could be negotiated with, because a little bit of benefit and a little bit of support will move them away from a life of crime. If you are dealing with the ones that are religiously inclined, then we have a problem. If you are dealing with the nationalists who just feel that they have been deprived as Nigerians of their rights, then it's easy to deal with them, to find a settlement for them to deal with their request. But who then do we negotiate with? Is the question that many Nigerians need to ask themselves. Do we be negotiating with foreigners who have been infiltrated this narrative and who are attacking us? Do we be negotiating with Malians? Do we be negotiating with Nigerians? That's the people from Niger who have come into our country to kill our people, and we should be giving them Nigerian taxpayers' money in order to appease them, like one former governor was alleged to have done? No, I think we need to separate them. And we need to, I agree with the governor, there are some groups that need to be negotiated with, but some of the groups need to be eliminated. There is no doubt about it, because they will not stop until they have killed and maimed innocent Nigerians who have done nothing wrong but want to live peacefully in their ancestral home.
Let's quickly talk about that issue of elimination. Do you think this is a war, if you like, we can win militarily?
Yeah, I don't think the war. This is it is a war. There is no doubt in my mind that we are facing an external war, because it's both internal and external factors that are affecting us. So there are foreign elements within this group, and there are local people. We can do with our own people, but how do you deal with the foreign aspect of it? The problem I also have is with the de-radicalization project of the Nigerian state at the moment, because the de-radicalization project, which is being deployed by the military, It's owned by the military, deployed by the military, and certified by the military. There is no external stakeholder in there. And when I mean external stakeholders, ordinary Nigerians who are able to profit. You are a respected journalist that have been in this field for many years. And I know that if I ask you if you've seen a report of the de-radicalization project, how much is being spent, how many people have been de-radicalized, I know you will not be able to give me that figures. Of course, you'll be able to give me figures that the Nigerian military is pushing out, which is 16,000, 80,000 people, a whole country. There are countries that are not more than 70,000 in this world. And when you are telling me that you are de-radicalizing almost a country or a state, then we have a problem, because I know that is impossible. I know that there are people who are victims who are within that system, but not all of them have been radicalized. And that's the reason why we need to revisit the radicalization project. Even if I agree that we need to negotiate with these individuals, some of those individuals, not all of them, I still think that the de-radicalization project needs to be reviewed. And that is the reason I would like to use this platform to advise the president, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, to set up a presidential advisory team on counter-terrorism and violence extremist management. Different from the military or the security apparatus, the traditional security apparatus, there is need to bring in civilian experts to advise the president on these things, because as far as I'm concerned, we are not handling it the way we should handle it. Of course, we've had some successes, but it's not good enough in comparison with the amount of money and resources that will be invested into this project.
All right, Temitope Olodo, that's preventive terrorism consultant. Thank you very much for your thoughts there, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Well, that's how much we can take on the show this week. Well, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.